bros, my friends, my family out there across the internet. It's Dave Brindle. Yet again, we're going to start talking some Convergence. We're going to stick to the format that brought us some success rather than just aimlessly rambling on to no end. Going to go ahead and throw down some 5-minute segments here. Obviously, this is the introduction, so we have about 4.5 minutes left to warm up, gear up for this 30-minute stretch. We're going to converse on a few more topics. Now, like I said, we're sticking with the format because I love the outcome of actually getting a concise. Now, I will still be perfecting my ability to stay directly on topic, but that's not necessarily my style, and I think 5 minutes for an intro, 4 subjects, and an outro, with that outro being mostly a flow down and trickle off point for either the last topic or the Convergence in general, but where we've talked about a few of the technical aspects and important key pieces of Pokemon itself and starting to merge that into the Convergence. I think I want to take some time to talk about the Navy. And today I've broken it down into the main Spec Ops force that's discussed, and the story is told from their point of view. Now, I do go still third person, but a more intimate look at Spec Ops Team Echo, or Special Task Force, Special Tasking Team Echo, to avoid stuff that just gets used repetitively. I mean, we're not talking about some epic, unbeatable level dudes for the convenience of the story. We're talking about people that have had a long journey throughout their adult lives, throughout their young lives and their childhood, based on who it is and the incredibly endless combination of life stories that we see with ourselves, IRL, and in the Pokemon verse. These are real people. I just wanted to capture the soul of real people who have played Pokemon and enjoyed Pokemon the way I have. And out of the so many millions of Pokemon fans out there, there's more than enough to provide a large spectrum of viewpoints. And that comes down to the Navy. And I want the Navy being the more civically oriented organization that it is, and that we've built it up to be, considering the lack of war and conflict in between the regions. You know, I look at the Navy as the people who primarily comprise the police force, firefighters, even constables, but more than that, just, you know, for federal organizations with the lack of a standing government throughout these regions, I wanted the Navy to fill that role. Now, this is going to be a Navy-heavy episode, and I think, number one, I want to talk, like I was saying, about Team Echo. Number two, I want to talk about the Navy brass, the leadership and the organization that would rival the breakdown from in our own modern military, admirals, generals, flag officers, and the authority corps of the Navy, all the way down to the regular grunts, as we'll see them, and those people that would be essentially the National Guard, trained in all of these areas, educated, and especially in terms of Pokemon, being especially well-trained tactically with their Pokemon to deal with certain situations. Now, if you train for 5 years with a Wartortle / Blastoise, for the ease of this example, to be a firefighter, and the coordination that you get as the human trainer who stands back, has a complete overall view of the outside of the situation, like a firefighting team would be 10 humans and 15 Wartortle. And each human has their little squad that they deal with, and they attack the situation and put out the fire by working as a full spectrum unit, surrounding the problem, combating it from all areas, and having a living, intelligent, sentient being that can act as what would otherwise be your tool is a powerful concept. And that, apply it to all walks of life where in realism there are areas that we deal with, and then put that in the context of Pokemon the Convergence. Oh, that's fucking epic. I've never seen a bat do that, man. This massive bat just glided down, bro. Whatever. So let's get started off with Team Echo as we begin segment 1. Now, Team Echo just happened to be a result of how I wrote the first chapters of the Convergence initially, all those years ago. Because all of my friends on board my ship who had picked up a DS and picked up Pokemon Black and White, played older school versions and prior generations on emulators, and we all sort of interacted on that community and battled each other, traded and played and talked shop. I just put them in the story. So initially it was myself, my friend Garcia, my friend Bullard, my friend Genuine, and at this time, really Jake Franco, who's the other number one in Zero Fail Incorporated, and the creators of the Convergence as my only other co-author, besides all of the intellectual property we've taken from other fans throughout the years. Those were the names that went in the story, and I built their character, not directly from the personality and character from their real life equivalents, but filling these roles that I thought would be most accessible to the audience. And over time, of course, such a large cast has developed for the course of personalities in the Convergence, but there's just no end to a very real feel for these characters, their life situations, their attitudes, their reactions, and you start to see the value and worthiness pretty quickly when dealing with many of these personalities. So Team Echo is fortunate in that they are the focus of so many missions and operations that take place that are not necessarily battlefront activities. But take, for instance, the first mission I wrote for Team Echo was that during the initial appearance and Fearals were pouring out of random portals opening across the mainland, one portal opened up very near to Pallet Town. Now, in the Convergence, with Pallet Town being a actual big town with a population of a few thousand, this is very chaotic because there's no news coverage of it, except for the fact that there was a festival going on in Lavender Town, and it was being televised, so some people saw live footage of this shit going down for the first time. But the people of Team Echo are sent in during the stalemate to go to Professor Oak's laboratory located in Pallet Town, because when the appearance happened, Professor Oak... Let me throw a sidebar on you guys. I'm going to just go ahead and break from the format for now and take this to 15 minutes to describe Team Echo, and then we'll be able to fit the rest of the Navy organizational characteristics in well within the timeline of the 30-minute total podcast. So I'm just going to keep on talking about the appearance, right? Because Professor Oak saved as many people as he could, because it's not a small one-room open laboratory with a few facilities in it. There is a massive subterranean complex that Oak built probably 20 to 30 years prior to the Convergence's beginning, and a visible timeline of what the Convergence verse looks like and what we're familiar with in the games as a basic vision to go off of. But not only is his laboratory very large, but it has, like I said, a massive underground complex that houses not only several nuclear reactors to power the southeastern region of Johto, but also has many laboratory and testing facilities built into it. There just so happens to be a very strong blast door complex that keeps the underground sections secure in case of nuclear meltdown and in case of experimental failure and lack of containment. That is the containment. So Oak saves a shit ton of people, but one of the people he can't save is that the first face you see in Pokemon, Red's mom. Red's mom is one of the few people, okay, not the few people, but as these Fearals begin to expand outward, they don't necessarily get the word to call for a bunker fucking evacuation until it's almost too late and people are being slaughtered. Now, for the purposes of drama, I mean, we're talking like Trainer Red's mom, who is also a relatively undiscussed badass when it comes to Pokemon training. Giant spider walking across the windshield of my van. That's cool. What's up, bro? Coming to listen to some Convergence, it looks like. She is fighting the shit out of some Fearals, taken down many with... I gave her a Steelix, and I gave her... the only two that I had for her that made it into that battle scene and that terrible death scene was a Steelix and a Graveler. And they both fight well, but are simply overwhelmed, and essentially Red's mom buys enough time for, a group of kids, something that makes it just a even more heartwarming, heart-rending scene as the Oak is calling to her, but they both know that she won't make it in time. She kind of gives him the look to close the blast doors. And I mean, the mystery surrounding Ash's dad, although you did see pictures of him, I did love the theory that Oak was Ash's, Ash/Red's mom, or Ash/Red's dad. Sorry, prof. But, I mean, the fact that would mean that Red and Blue were brothers and never knew it, and their rivalry would be so much more meaningful. But anyway, Red's mom sacrifices herself, saves some people, the blast doors close, and she is absolutely torn to shreds by these Fearals. You don't have to see it, but I think people will never forget, especially fans of Attack on Titan, would never forget Eren's mom getting eaten for the first time. Like, watching that shit for the first time, really being hit by it. Anyway, that's what I'm going for. Now, Team Echo there's no red or blue or colors or anybody that you've heard of on Team Echo. But they are a personality core of hardcore trainers from all walks of life. And there are 9 of them. And when the story picks up, there's only 2 of them left. So Team Echo is essentially 2 people. Now, because of who they were before the war and the shit they've seen during it, you could not find 2 characters of greater skill, perception, charisma, intelligence. I mean, charisma maybe, but who do not give a single fuck anymore. Fucking hate dealing with the brass. And I know that's been almost a comedy point for anime before, anime and manga characters and story structure, but when you think of the relationship between a supreme general and the leader of Special Tasking Squad Echo, and the general cannot overlook the fact that any mission that this man goes on will end in a success, but knows that this man hates him for being a fucking agenda keeper, and generally giving the sense that the priority of the Navy throughout both the initial invasion, during the course of the appearance, and the stalemate leaves many people to look at Navy as, fuck you, dude. Like, how many people couldn't be saved? Everybody lost family members in the Navy's really pathetic response in the beginning of the appearance. And many people don't forgive that. Now, Team Echo, I completely missed it, and I've only got 50 seconds before I will move on. So let me cap that mission wrap-up for you. That lab's subterranean complex is sealed. And for 2.5 years, nobody hears anything. And they assume, because Oak, the Navy had knowledge of these reactors and stuff, they assume that everybody was dead because there's radio silence from the complex. Then out of nowhere, these nuclear reactors come back online after being shut down and fucking up the power for that whole region. No, not the region, but that quadrant, right? they go back in, Team Echo sent in to figure out what the hell's going on with the beacon, and they find some shit down there that they weren't expecting. And I'll come back to that. We'll go on some Echo mission podcast discussion at another time. Maybe the next podcast. Fuck it, I got 2 scheduled for tonight. Now, and after that long pause, jump in right back in. I'm just going to go ahead and cap it and say, let's talk Navy organization. Now, because of the wide array of tasks that the Navy is responsible for and conducts as the civic and military organization, as well as a political organization, you have Navy officials that would be a part of military command, governmental policy over local areas. Now, those, you wouldn't say, like, the Navy governor of northeastern Johto wouldn't be a colonel or a general or a lord or any of that stuff. They would be the governor. Let's say there's governors, mayors, but there's actually no president or VP, king, any kind of shit like that. That role is, as a figurehead, is taken by the Navy military, because the Navy military really assumed responsibility for the relative victory of the war 100 years ago and used that to say, like, look, in an age where government previously got us into a conflict and so much war, so much destruction and death took place because of, don't take this as a political statement from me, but because of the president's relationship with another president or a king or any of the typical stuff we see in history, IRL. But the Navy assumed command and more so the responsibility and authority in reconstructing the infrastructure of these 4 nations, rebuilding, bringing people back into a productive lifestyle, getting the economy back up, doing all this shit, and actually by using the methods of military training and discipline, being able to teach everybody to fulfill roles in society again. That's where the importance and the strength of the Corps as firefighters, police officers, and even technicians, like maintenance personnel, laborers, like, it is a proud thing, whether you feel this way IRL or not. It is a proud thing to be a construction worker in the Navy, in like the construction corps, and that's where there are so many Machoke, Machamp, like Snorlax, heavy performance Pokemon that can help. Well, so not Snorlax at all. Like, the Snorlax is the mascot who chills in the corner and eats steel girders and passes the fuck out. He's like a garbage disposal. But there's a fat guy over there drinking milkshakes with him all day, being like, hey, you need anything, bud? I got you. Super potion? No, passed out. Hitting him with the Poke Flute just to get him up to do trash compacting and fucking devouring duty. I mean, that's just something that strikes me as, it makes me feel like I'm in it to think of stuff like that. But the pride of being an actual construction worker would be like a CB or an engineer, and learning how to build in both a solutions way, emergency reaction, disaster reaction, and in, get your degree as an architect or, a safety consultant, anything like that. It feels real, but it also fits in Pokemon, as well as being a Machoke trainer and a Machamp trainer. Hell yeah, bro. Get it done. Wish they had those dudes from Gen 5, and I can't. The dudes hoisting girders with the 2 of them pointing down. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure it's... fuck it. I mean, 5-10 seconds is more than I'm willing to give, besides what I just gave. But that's what I'm talking about. There's pride there, and you wear your construction badge with honor, the same as you would anywhere else, and you just get this well-built society that the Navy plays into. And I think it's important to take those few episodes, those few chapters, to denote that to the public's knowledge, the Navy will protect you when shit goes down. But the problem is, with portals opening everywhere, that structure across all these frames of societal foundation, as for the regions and the Navy in the Convergence, when the shit hits the fan, people who are not actually prepared for war they rally as a community, but sometimes it's just not enough. Like, if a portal opened up right now in, fucking Compton, and I'm not talking funerals, like, just make it human on human so you can grasp the idea I went for. And hooded, armored, fucking berserker humans, or humanoids, blasted through these portals with miniguns or just, fucking bizarro AK-47s, like Battlefield or Battle for Los Angeles. Like, humanoids came out and just started wreaking havoc all over. They were savage, zombie, cannibal, robot humanoids from another dimension, as far as we knew, and they were here to end us, dude. How much death and destruction would take place at this seeming never-ending wave? That's why I made the point to include the explosion of population for feral and savage Pokemon in Unova, devouring the humans, breeding out of control, and that is the horde that was sent at the mainland. And you look at the mainland being relatively the same size as Unova, and we just increased how massive Unova was. Therefore, there was a shit ton of people. Therefore, there was a shit ton of Pokemon that were owned versus the 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 million, because the world is smaller. Okay, the world is smaller. It's not a 9 billion person planet, let alone a 6 or a 5 or 4. Because of the war 100 years ago, and because of the recent thinning of the Pan American Union's population by the emptying of Kalos and turning it into a feral-infested fucking wasteland, purged out wasteland, leaves the mainland population being the last one that is of appropriate size for a country we would designate as a country. And I find it, a little bit similar to the United States. Like, the mainland has in total 325 million people at the start of the story. And the population of Unova was about 115 million. Now, there are roughly 800 million Pokemon that are at the peak of the population boom. Now, the malicious force behind the legendaries that caused both the problems previously in Kalos and now in Unova doesn't have an infinite supply of power to compel these legendaries. And what begins to happen is Kyurem, Zekrom, and Reshiram they don't return to their normal state, but they are no longer compelled by the malicious force. And the Pokemon understand that they've been manipulated somehow beyond their, by a power greater than themselves. And they call all of the legendary Pokemon so far in existence to identify and combat this more powerful force. As we get some company here in the hood, almost midnight. Let's keep it going as the wind kicks up and the dramatics unfold. I don't want to ruin the story, but that endgame was twisted not to be purposefully a mindfuck, but it just became one as the pieces came together on the puzzle. So, the Navy, I think you understand now, plays an integral role in the lifestyle structure of the people in the world of the Convergence. Now, as this project picks up steam, I think it's fucking important to remember that built for an anime, built for a manga, built for a game, built for a webcomic, built for the big screen, is only possible when the full dedication of the director and the creator, the writer, is to leave no scene left unperfected. And there are movies that take 5 and 6 years to make. There are games that take so many years to make, and the resources are given to them, the time and the manpower are given to them by the owners of blank company. And I really wonder, with the dedication to so many other products, from what I assume to be an inside asset to the Nintendo community, all of those companies that are involved with Pokemon, I wonder if, like, what it would take. Somebody out there who's got ears to this right here and also has the knowledge of how to make it happen, connect us, dude. Connect our squad, our team, to the people that can say yes. And we will make this shit worth all the money you've ever spent on any of the handhelds, any of the games, all the hours, cumulative, probably decades, if we added up our individual time that we've spent watching Pokemon. If you're in my age range, I'm talking the population in general, throw it all in there, and I guarantee you there's a shit ton of time invested in Pokemon. And I think I know it's worthwhile. We know it's worthwhile. Sit down with us for 30 minutes and have a conversation. Do it over Skype if you don't want to say, I won't invest the time. Hey, man, because I don't know, like, between me and Jake, I'm a tech for Dish Network, and I don't know if he's in culinary school still. Both ex-Navy, you know. I mean, if you say, hey, look, man, we've been listening to your idea, the community here of Pokemon fans that identify themselves as those in desire of an adult constructed Pokemon adaptation, and we can make this happen. I mean, I'm a real person. I mean, if you want the honest truth on how to make this game perfect, we need to set aside a 2-month period and every day submit between ourselves. And I mean, I don't know at what point you say this is how much money I'll need, but if you could pay our bills for 2 months, we could certainly have it fully in writing, easy enough for everyone to understand every aspect. Anybody that picks up a pencil, anybody that does anything conceptual, that is involved in creative development and that is involved in bringing the project together, whether on the screen or in front of the controller. And the Convergence could truly be the most well-produced, most accepted, if consumers are grateful for your product, it's a hell of a lot different than just having the typical amount of people who shell out the money and accept it. I mean, this is not, no offense, man, this isn't the waste of the cartoon that wasn't of the original style for 2 decades. 2 decades. I mean, I'm sorry, man, and I'm glad that it kept kids getting into it, and I guess that's the point. I just don't know why it downgraded. So while in the last 30 seconds I'm bitching to the people that I want to work with already, that I think we would be an excellent fit in partnership with, but I don't want it to be received entirely like that. I'm just saying I have identified the areas in which Pokemon can be perfected for the audience of my age range, which I think is a large enough customer basis for you that it's damn sure worth your time and your money.